All right, hello. I've forgotten how to use my computer.
What workspace are we in? Workspace 3? Great.
Apparently we're in workspace 3.
Okay, so our failing test is that there is no key map directory in the config Autokey data path,
Yeah, do we want to back
let
up like 2 or
alone,
3 steps just in
yeah,
case anyone ever watches
should
this?
should we back up 2 or 3 steps? Yeah, why don't we can do it here, right? So to try the gist, so to enable multi-user Mac OS keyboard shortcuts, we're going to try this gist that we found for. Do you want to characterize it?
Yeah, so the idea is to create a more automatable configuration format. Or I don't even know if automatable is the right word, but like text-oriented configuration format for Autokey. Did we talk about what Autokey was the last time we streamed? Probably,
A little
right?
bit.
Isn't that what we were? Yeah, that was like the whole discussion. Okay. So yeah, there's this thing called Autokey. It has a GUI. The GUI looks like this. And the way you create key bindings is by basically like writing Python scripts and then like manually inputting the hotkeys that you want to run each script. And this is a pretty tedious way to configure anything, in my opinion.
It's really, very powerful.
It's very powerful, yes, because you can run arbitrary code. But
right.
for what I want to do, which is map key presses to another set of key presses, it's way overkill, and I would like something that is less general and more abstract, such as this. Like I want to just write a config file that maps keys to keys and then have the Python scripts get generated automatically from that. And this is a script that does that, basically. And we are going to run it. And so we found this in a gist. Someone else wrote this. And we're going to run it and see if it does what we expect. So what I think this is going to do is it's going to create a directory in .config autokey data key map. It will actually create this key map directory, and then it will put Python and JSON files in there that describe this mapping. So like super J will be mapped to left. The way that will be denoted is there will be a JSON file called super+j.json, and that will describe the keys that you have to press, I think, to activate the script called super+j.py. And then super+j.py will emit the key press events, which in this case is left.
Okay.
Okay.
So that's our expectation. It'll generate those Python scripts.
Yeah, without further ado, let's run it. And I put it in downloads. Autokey generate.rb. All right. Hey, cool. It ran without error, presumably. And if we ls this, we see a key map directory. And in the key map directory, hey,
et voila!
All of the things. So let's see what's in super+j.json. Oh, that's interesting. That doesn't exist. There are no JSON files. Okay, that's not what I was expecting. What's in the Python file? Well, what the heck?
Is it not super?
Oh, but look. These aren't...
There's no super.
There's no super. What is this even generating?
Yeah, where does it get its input data?
These are named after the output. These are named after the output. So we're looking for left.py. Keyboard send keys left. Okay, I guess that makes sense as a name. It's a script that just sends left. So that's what you should call it, left. I agree with that. But where's the configuration? Who actually invokes this script? Okay, let's see if the Autokey GUI understands what this is.
Doesn't seem to have. Does it seem to have noticed?
Info? No, that's not what I want. That's debugging. Show main window. Key map. Okay, so in here we've got. Oh, it does have hotkeys configured.
But where? If not in a JSON file.
But where, if not in a JSON file? Right.
Is there one top-level JSON that maps all of these?
I know. Preparing the JSON config body. Writing the JSON config to disk. Config file name. Yeah, there might be... Oh, it's hidden. That's why I didn't see it. Right. All the JSON files are hidden. I forgot about that little detail.
Hidden from whom?
Hidden from... I don't know.
Okay, so dot left should show us what key press maps to left in this scheme.
Right. And it's Super J.
Super J. Okay, so if you hit Super J, Autokey should output a left keystroke, right?
Right. Okay. So let's just go in here. So here's the problem. I have XKeySnail running, and XKeySnail is going to bind. Well, actually, it won't bind Super J to anything. Okay, let's just try it. Is that what happens when you hit left in the URL bar? No.
No.
Super J means...
Let's see what happens when you hit Super J in the
something
URL
else.
bar. So Super J is just arbitrarily what this person picked, I guess, because they were trying to map IJKL to arrow keys.
Okay, yeah, that's interesting. So I hit Super J in the terminal, and it maps to, like, enter or something. Like, that's left and right arrows. This is Super J. So I don't know what's up with that. I'm going to try
Is there
to
another
Autokey. It's possible that the terminal is just interpreting Super J as just running a command by itself. Yeah, that's just how the terminal interprets Super J. That means enter, apparently. But in any case, it seems like this is not working.
Is there another key combination we could test? Maybe Super J is a special case for both the terminal and the URL bar in Firefox.
Let's see. What's a good one? Super E is backspace.
Okay.
Page up, page down. I don't know.
Well, Super E is backspace. Super E is... Okay.
I feel
What
like
is super?
To be really sure about what this is doing, I should kill XKeySnail.
Okay.
Okay. So now we run Autokey. Don't actually want just the window. Oh, now Super J works. Look at that.
So XKeySnail was stopping it, or we restarted Autokey. That's what happened.
Maybe we restarted. Oh, maybe that was it.
I suspect it's restarting Autokey.
Huh.
Okay.
Weird things are going on with the video in the terminal. Do you see this? It's like, so when I use the actual left and right arrow keys, the cursor movement is smooth and there's no, like, it doesn't invert the cursor color. And when I use J and L, or Super J and L, it, like, flashes the cursor.
Yeah, I sort of see that.
It's awkward. I wonder why it's doing that. I think it's because Oh, there's also, what the heck is going on here? Oh, that's a different window? The edge of the terminal
It's
has
just
no
a different
window border
window.
because it's tiled.
Ah, no
I
window border
removed
because
the
it's tiled.
borders from windows on the left half of the screen because it looked weird when there was a double border between the left half tiled window and the right half tiled window.
Oh, you did this to
I
yourself
did this to myself.
in the
Yes.
customization of your distro.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, so we tried the Autokey script or the Autokey gist, and it seems to have done something useful.
Indeed.
So the question is, are these... So first of all, these mappings are very wrong, right? I mean, we certainly don't... This is not the desirable macOS-like key bindings,
Right.
as far as I know.
No, I don't think they are.
Right, and secondly, is this how configuration is? Is this how the Autokey config generator is itself configured? I mean, is this the ideal DSL? Is this what we want?
No, this is not how I would like to input the key bindings. For one thing, I find this scheme of like output key on the left to be awkward. Like I want this to be the key that I press and this to be the key that results. And
right.
The reason is like semantically, like each key press can only mean one thing, or I only want it to mean one thing. And the way to express that constraint with a map is to have the keys of the map be the input key, not the output key, right? Like this allows me to make super J mean multiple different things. Like all of these could be J, but not all the things on the left could be J. Like that's
right.
I don't know. Is that a syntax error in Ruby? I actually don't know. Ruby J1, J2.
I think it'll just clobber the first key.
I want IRB, not Ruby.
Ah.
Yeah, it might.
Right.
K is duplicated and overwritten, so it outputs a warning, and you get the second key.
Oh,
okay.
What a nice warning.
So yeah, I would like to change this. I would like to have application-specific key bindings as well, which this doesn't necessarily allow. Although we could certainly do something, right? Like we could add a regex to this. That would let us filter by window class. But what I actually want is to have separate directories of key bindings for each window class, because Autokey has this thing where you can... Autokey has this thing where you can associate a window filter with a directory. And I guess I could do this manually, but I don't want to because I want to automate everything about the configuration of my desktop. So yeah, I mean, you can set a regex here, and then this directory of key bindings will only apply to windows whose window class matches this regular expression. So if I want to have terminal specific stuff, I can be like, I want to match, terminal, whatever. And then apply recursively to subfolders. So I actually don't know where this is configured. Like, where is this regex saved? So let's do an experiment.
This is the window filter for an entire folder.
Yeah, I know. I want to know where this configuration is stored so we can automate it.
Just confirming. Great.
Okay. All right, so we're going to do find me, and then I'm going to grep for that. And just grep and config because my disk is fast. That's really interesting. It doesn't put it in config. Did I do this right?
.config, is that's where we've been looking.
Autokey's config is here, right?
Right. So where else could it save it? No, nowhere I would expect.
I mean, it could put it in dconf. Let's check the dconf database, maybe? Yeah, I don't know. That's so weird. Oh, ha, there's a save button. I keep forgetting about that. There we go.
There you go.
All right. So, keymap folder.json. All right. So this didn't exist before, I don't think. Oh no, maybe it did. Maybe it did. I don't remember. I didn't look for this very carefully.
But, well, we can blow it away and run it again.
I don't see it up here. Yeah, I mean, we can also just do...
Well, and wouldn't it say in the script somewhere some mention of it would have to generate folder JSON?
Yeah, it would. And so, okay, so it was not generated before. Okay, so we could generate this. So, I mean, I think this script is a good starting point. It doesn't have any tests, right? So I would want to add tests, or basically rewrite it. But I think this is sort of a proof of concept that demonstrates that what we're trying to do is possible, and not all that hard, because this person did it in 100 lines of code or so.
Okay, works for me.
All right. So if we're going to write tests, I think we should write them in RSpec.
Can we go back to the cave and check this off?
Oh, yeah. Sure. Try gist. All right. We are done. Finish the current task. No, we need to focus the window. I thought you clicked on the window. Finish the current task. All right. What's the next step towards enabling multi-user macOS keyboard shortcuts?
I guess I have to not do this backwards. And we have to do this backwards. So the next thing that we're actually going to do is we're going to create a repo. We have a folder where we're going to create a Ruby project.
Okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to say write a Ruby script, or maybe run a Ruby script, to generate key bindings.
Right.
And in order to run the Ruby script, we need to write the Ruby script.
Sure. Yeah. Right. Great.
All right.
Brilliant.
Write a Ruby script to generate key bindings.
Before we do that, so that's perfectly good task. Great. Before we do that, here's the subtask I would add is can we write a yes. That was me. That's me. I wrote N. I hit N 4 times, yes. And then a minute later it popped up.
I have lost input. Oh, no, I've regained input control.
Congrats. Should we write some requirements for this?
Yeah, like a little README-driven development kind of thing?
Yeah.
All right. Write a README.
All right, cool, brilliant. Seems great.
All right, that seems like a doable thing. Shall we just do it?
Yeah, let's just do it.
All right. Cool. README.md. Before we do this, I actually want to just get in it. Just so we can track things
right
a little bit easier. All right. Autokeyconf. So, how do we want to be able to use this? I kind of have an idea of what I want.
Yeah.
Which is that the input file format is YAML. The output is Python and JSON files. keys config directory. People on the stream can see this pop border, right? That's not just annoying me. It's like cutting off 5 pixels at the edge, and I can't see my characters.
That's happening for everyone.
All right, well, let's stop tiling. Unfortunately, I need a better way of managing windows. I also wish this dock would not be there, or would always be there. And maybe we should just keep it there, or quit it. Don't need it. Okay. So we want our input to look, this is probably not going to actually use syntax highlighting in Vim, but we'll see. So what do we want our input format to look like? So I think the top level type thing should be like applications, right? So I want like, so GNOME terminal, I want that to be the key of a dictionary that maps key presses to like output key events.
Yeah.
So for example, in a terminal, I want Control Shift C, or sorry, I want Super C to map to Control Shift C. I actually don't know if plus is a special character in YAML. This might work. Probably will work without the quotes. YAML has bare strings. Right, and then that's basically it, right? This is like all I want. And then probably a default case, right? Like some special key that
for universal,
be, you know, the fallback key map.
Fallback. What do you mean fallback? You mean when a particular specified application is not active?
Yeah. And well, let's see. How should this work with layering? Like, should GNOME terminal also inherit the default key set? I think it should. I think anything that's not explicitly overridden by this should just fall back to default.
That makes sense.
We can implement that. So I guess there are 2 places we can implement that. We could implement that in Ruby, but it might also be possible to implement it in YAML with anchors. I think you can spread one map
That's fun.
into another in YAML, or what does YAML call them? Dictionaries. YAML anchor merge. Sure. Thanks, Google suggestions. Yeah, this is what I want. Right? So this creates an alias for defaults, or an anchor. And then this references the anchor and says, take all the keys from defaults and stick them into the value of mapping, this key value map. And then the ones that aren't overridden, so B, show up here. And then A and C are after this, I assume, so they override it, or maybe the order doesn't matter. I actually don't know. So we could do this, or
I like it.
We could have this syntax be sort of implicit, or the meaning be implicit, and just do it in Ruby. I like this because there's less code we have to write, although this would be really easy to do in Ruby. In theory, I mean, okay, so the other thing I like about this is that it leaves the policy decision about how inheritance should work up to the person writing the config instead of embedding it in the program. And I've learned through hard experience that decisions should be pushed as far towards the user as possible because you'll never know what people want to do. But since this is just a thing for me, maybe it doesn't matter.
No, let's write less code, empower the user, and use the platform. I love it.
Yeah. All right. Sounds good. In that case, we don't need this as special syntax. We just need this. This is the entire syntax of our little mini language. Just have mappings of regexes to mappings of input keys to output keys.
Oh, you don't want to give an example of defaults being inherited?
Oh, okay. Yeah. What is it called? Object merging? What does YAML actually call these things? These key value maps. Are they dictionaries, objects, maps? Or do we have to read the YAML spec?
I guess they're merge keys.
YAML syntax. Each item in the list
That's
hash or dictionary.
Ansible docs.
Yeah, but like Ansible is teaching us YAML now because everyone has to teach their users
They're
YAML.
big, right?
In their own special way, because who is going to read the spec? The spec is atrocious. I hear it's very long. Can
we just search for merge?
Yes, I think we can. If this ever finishes loading, merge. There's no merge? How about objects? How about dictionary?
Yeah. The mapping primitives.
Sequence and mapping.
Mm.
Mapping. The content of a mapping node is an unordered set of key value node pairs.
Oh,
all right, so YAML calls these
node.
mappings.
Surprised I've never heard that before.
And mapping merges.
Yeah.
I'm just going to call them merges.
Okay.
To all right. So the defaults.
Well, right, because if I just want to set, I feel like one of the use cases, the primary use cases for this would be to just set default global mappings, not application specific.
Yeah, exactly.
In which case, what do? We write defaults and we have asterisk inherit from defaults?
Yeah, I guess. So yeah, I'm trying to think of a good example of a place where we would want to use defaults. So normally I want super W to close the window, but in a browser or any other tabbed application, I want it to close the current tab. So normally, I guess this would be bound to Alt F4 or something. But then for like Firefox, we would inherit the defaults and say this is a reference to defaults. But then we would also say that super W is whatever closes a tab in Firefox. I actually don't know.
I think Control W.
Control W? Does that work? Control W. Yeah, that works. And just for the purposes of illustration, I think we would want to have some other examples here, like super C. That means copy, so it's going to be Control C. And then we could even have another example, like in GNOME Terminal, we want to inherit the defaults, but Control C means signal the current process. So we want super C to actually be bound to Control Shift C, but we'll inherit all the other defaults.
Okay.
Okay, is it clear enough what we're doing?
Yeah. One thing we could add is actually the usage example where we call it on the command line and pass it an input file.
Oh, yeah, that's important. Syntax example. This isn't really, a formal specification. Syntax, I'm just going to delete this section and call this command line usage. All right, so we call this thing by running, I don't know, AutoKeyConf. How are people going to install this? Is it like a gem?
Sure, I guess that's how we distribute Ruby scripts.
Okay.
But
someday I would like to have a package that can like be installed from a PPA because I want to learn like about Debian packages.
Fair enough,
but
probably
maybe
that's
not now.
pretty far down the
installation.
Probably we're not even going to release this as a gem.
No, probably not. This is all very aspirational and fictional.
Well, so then at this point, it's really just save the file.
Yeah, I mean, if we're writing documentation for ourselves, okay, installation, here's what I'm going to say.
If you're reading this
Ruby,
yeah.
Clone this repo.
Right. Great. Good job.
You can copy Autokey into your path or whatever.
Yeah.
Or, just download Autokey. Maybe they don't have to clone the repo.
Autokey into your path? What does that even mean to copy Autokey from this repo? Why from this repo?
Well, that's where it is.
Oh, you mean AutoKeyConf?
Sorry, yes.
No, I mean, right. Okay, that makes more sense.
Copy AutoKeyConf from this repo. Okay.
No, cool. I wouldn't even do that. I mean, we can just run it like this. I think that's fine. But I guess the only thing that I'd be concerned about is, are we... All right, well, now it's on... No, that's unnecessary. People can do that if they want.
Yeah, I mean,
now
really, it's just a script.
We're telling people
like, whatever.
What configuration, how to use Linux. It's up to them, really. And then
that is the problem with Linux, actually. That like there's this knowledge that we just assume. Like I run into this problem every time I write a README. It's like, how much background knowledge should I assume? Should I assume that this person like has developed JavaScript applications before? Like, should I explain how to install Node?
This is you. You're the user. This is to remind you how to use this tool.
When I'm writing for myself, it's very easy. And so if I was writing for myself, I would just, I would probably say at least what file to look at.
I would not even copy AutoKeyConf into my path.
No? I guess you're not going to run it all the time.
I'm not going to run it from any other directory. In fact, great, brilliant.
Okay, path to mappings.yaml. Right. And that's it.
Right. That's it. Great, brilliant, good.
Okay, cool. So we can check this off. Nope, that's not the right thing. Oh, that was really interesting. Did you see what happened there? It moved the window but didn't tile it.
Well, there are ways to move the windows that don't tile them.
Okay, so that tiled it. And when I hit left, nothing happens.
Yeah, so you can move the window with command left and right, or you can tile it with control command left and right.
Oh.
Oh no, I see what it is. This is now where it was before, right? It has a memory of what it was.
Oh, that's interesting.
How the window was previously displayed.
Really, command left and right? I don't want command left and right to tile because I need to bind those to go to the beginning and end of line.
Is Cinnamon? Cinnamon's doing the tiling.
Yes.
Yeah, it is. Well, maybe the control key doesn't do anything when we're talking about tiling. Holding down control doesn't do anything. It is literally just command that is being listened to. Okay, whatever. Write a README. Yay! Write a Ruby script.
Okay.
Shall we?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's commit this README.
Oh, there you
go. Add aspirational README.
Seems great.
Okay. Oh, I should give you co-author credit. Do you not want your email address on stream?
Oh, we can, sure, absolutely. I put my email address. Maybe not.
Okay.
Don't be able to look this up. I mean, you can just go get it off of GitHub.
Yeah, but no one knows your GitHub username.
Yeah, they do. It's in the description for the channel, as far as I'm aware.
All right. Well, what do you want me to do?
Don't worry about it. We can set it up later.
Okay. Well, Autokey conf then. So this is going to be executed by Ruby. Oh, now I have this thing in the way again. User bin env Ruby should work, right? Let's just make sure that works. Okay.
Huzzah!
Cool. So we can run a Ruby script. So now let's write some tests.
Right.
Oh, interesting. Well, I'd rather watch our tests.
Yeah, we should do that. Yeah, let's try some tests.
Where's our gem installed? Okay, good. Gem install bundler. We're going to write a gem file.
Is there a bundle init?
It's... oh.
I think we
I
can
hadn't
even
thought about that. Ha ha ha! Wow! My days of handwriting gem files are over.
For example, gem rails. I don't think so.
Right, yeah.
Not today.
Not today. Great. All right. So now we can rspec spec. There's no spec directory, of course, but rspec doesn't care.
Okay.
Didn't create one either. So let's name through spec.
I think there's an rspec init also.
Okay.
It might be an init flag.
rspec init.
Rspec. I think init is a flag on rspec. Right. Huzzah!
Huh, what did it put in here? It created a spec helper? I don't even need that. What's that for? Oh god. Expectations include chain clauses and custom actor descriptions. Verify partial doubles? Yikes. Okay, well we probably won't need any of this. But
yeah, probably not. What is the point of an init command generating helpers with commented out configuration? Is it to preserve us from having to read documentation?
It puts the documentation closer to where you are.
Okay.
It, it's to prevent people from copy pasting even more dubious code from Stack Overflow, I guess.
Right.
It's fine. I mean, I don't mind it. If I were actually going to use it, I would find it helpful, but I'm not going to because we're going to be writing some very simple tests here.
Can we tile a window of tests?
Yeah, I guess so. So you want... How should we do this? Should we have, like, test runner on one side and then the tests and the code on the other side?
Yeah, if we put the test runner on the right-hand side, there's a new window. Shift Control N.
Okay.
That
works.
Right, something like this, and then we can watch RSpec.
Yeah, the problem, you might want bundled exec RSpec. So our faces are going to cover most of this window.
That's okay. Only the top.
Only the top, which is
I guess
probably where the test results will appear. I don't know. Let's just tile it on the bottom right. I think that'll be fine.
Do we not... We don't have... Truby is not...
Does not automatically hook into CD.
Right.
I guess I could put Cherubi 3 in our bash RC. Okay, now I can't even see the test results. So yeah, let's move that down. Okay, cool. 0 examples, 0 failures. So let's write a test. I think we probably only need one test file at this point. Autokey conf spec.b. Let's see if the test framework works.
Yeah.
Spec, it works. Expect 1 to be 1. Do I remember how to write Ruby?
Do I remember how to write?
I apparently remember how to write Ruby. If we expect 1 to be 2, then it should fail.
Marvelous. Can I try getting color going?
Yeah.
Color?
I hope that's compatible with watch. Yeah, the problem is it might not work.
Watch has a specific...
The red is really hard to read. Wait, before we do this, I want to make the background of my terminal actually black. How do we do that?
Are you sure? Don't you know that dark colors are difficult to stream?
Tom, what's his face is making a mountain out of a molehill, I think. Cursor color, bold color, default color. Where's the background color?
This your default background?
Oh, thank you. Wait, default cursor.
But you can't do it while we're using colors from the system.
Right. What the heck is even colors from the system theme? What does that even mean?
Okay, the red is
I want to make
pretty
the red
exciting.
Brighter. Let's make this brighter.
What is that? It's a second red.
So there's bold and not bold. Or like bright and not bright. I don't know. Like the color codes specify 16 colors, right? So there's like cyan and dark cyan or something. So yeah, there's 16 colors. What do you want? You want fewer than 16 colors? All right, let's go. All right, so what's the hard part? What do we actually want to test here?
Well, probably we want to test that given a particular YAML input. We don't want to test reading files. We don't want to test. We don't want to test the command line. Actually, that this thing executes in the command line. God, that is such a nuisance. But it might not be a nuisance. I mean, we just throw it in backticks, right? I mean, and execute this script and see that it
executing
reads.
it is that it will write to the actual Autokey config location because we didn't parameterize that. In the README, you don't. There's no argument for the output directory, right? Because Autokey always stores its config at the same location.
Yeah, I mean, we can inject that in test. We
But
can
then we
inject
wouldn't
it
really
and
be
then
testing the script, right? We wouldn't be testing from
because
the
the
user's
main
perspective.
responsibility of the script is knowing where the Autokey directory is.
Okay, I mean, like, I guess we could. I thought you were saying something else. I thought you were saying we would like run the script the way a user would.
Right. Right. You're right. And if we do that, then we can't mock the output directory
Yeah.
the way we've currently designed it.
But yeah, I don't even care that much about that. Like,
Yeah.
because
Let's just skip to the good parts where we
yeah,
have a YAML input, which is a hash,
okay.
and JSON and like some kind of file directory output. So I guess right.
All right. So what do we want our input and output for this test to look like?
Well, the input is going to be a hash, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right, a Ruby hash generated from the YAML.
Is that it?
Yeah, that is it. Is there what? Yeah, there is. Although I don't know what a set of written files
Right. We have to choose how to
is
represent
in memory.
that.
Right.
Because what's going to happen is we're going to take that in-memory representation of a set of files to write, and then we're just going to write some code that like writes whatever files you give it. All right, so a set of written files, I'm going to say, is a hash that maps file paths to contents. And we can just assume that the contents of a file is a string. We don't care about binary files. We can assume that file paths are strings as well. You still there, Gavin?
Yeah, I had to do a bunch of jumping jacks very briefly here.
Oh, cool.
Should have done it on stream. I don't know why I didn't. Okay.
All right.
Yeah. So then let's make an assertion, right? It generates a set of written files.
All right, but this seems like we're biting off the entire problem all at once. What is the simplest thing that we can possibly do? What is the smallest step we can possibly take?
Well, I mean, this test will fail for the entire length of the project, but it will at least tell us our progress. I think it's okay to write a test that bites off the entire project.
Okay, I just like have trouble even thinking about where to start with that, but you have keyboard control.
That's true. Right, so something along the lines of expect, generate of...
Yeah, of what?
Well,
I guess we can just paste in the
YAML
thing
config,
from the README, right?
Example to the hash that maps file paths to contents. What would you even call this? We call it. Was it the hotkey directory?
Yeah.
It's literally what we. Yeah, I mean it generates a hotkey directory from not YAML, from a hash, from a particular, from a hotkey, I guess from hotkey mapping.
Yep.
Okay, brilliant. So watch has a flag for color, which interprets
great.
ANSI sequences, and I think so. We can say, yes, please give us color. But in order to accommodate that, I think RSpec has like a color type. I was wrong.
No, you probably have to force both TTY and color.
Oh. Hey! Good thinking. Example is not available from within an example. Don't know what that means.
An it block. We put an it in an it? Raise wrong scope error? Did we put an it in an it? Expect because example is a synonym for it in RSpec. This is not a local variable. This is a method call.
Oh, I see. That's just some. Yeah. So I guess this would be example mapping. Oh, what did I just do?
Looks like you pasted.
Yeah. Are we really going to do this in VI?
You want to use code or something? VS Code? Yeah, let's get out of here.
Let's code this, so to speak.
Do you trust the authors of the files?
Not too much.
Do you trust any authors of any files?
Few. Okay, great. So there's our spec. I think we can close.
What is taking up space here?
How do we close the Explorer? I want to close this whole panel.
Yeah, there's definitely a way to do that. There's like a command for it. Search the command palette.
Wow.
What the heck just happened?
I don't know. I have no idea what just happened. I hit Command P.
Apparently that is the command to change the screen resolution to native.
It's I'm so sorry.
All right. Well, let me check OBS and see what we are still actually streaming.
No, I know what we're streaming.
OBS has no open windows. Are we streaming?
We are for sure. Yeah.
Well, how do I switch to OBS? It has no open windows. OBS.
Yeah, it looks a little messed up.
Okay, well, we can just set it back. That's fine. Let's go to display. All right. Still there, Gavin?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right, cool. I suppose let's write this code, right? Is what's stopping us. We don't know what our example input is going to be. And we don't know what our output should be.
How do we open the command palette on code here if it's not
Control P? It should be Control Shift P, I believe.
Control Shift P. Good, great. Hide. Maximize editor group and hide sidebars. Heck yeah. I want that. I want to be able to see. Is it so unacceptable that I'd be able to see the tests and the code at the same time?
We could run the terminal in VS Code.
Yeah, that's true. Describe, generate, example. So we want example to be, actually, we'll call it, mappings. So undefined local variable mappings, which is fine. That's what we expected. So mappings is going to be, do this all ornately and fancy. So mappings is a hash. I have an example that we want to give. Well, mappings is a hash. Generate is our function under test, something that takes a mapping. A mappings is, I guess, you take one mapping and you add to it another mapping, what you end up with is a mapping.
Okay, seems reasonable.
And hotkey directory. Hotkey directory is a funny thing, right? Like, it's going to be an object that we're going to have to write another program to interpret. Right? It's going to be something that becomes...
Yeah, well, we can write that program later. And we can actually test it in a way that has nothing to do with Autokey. Right? Like, we could test this program by writing into /temp.
Right, but I wonder if this... So this is currently going to be it's another hash? Is that what it is?
Yeah, I believe so.
Something that looks like foo that goes to bar.py and...
Oh, no, I wasn't even thinking of anything that elaborate. I was just thinking /foo/bar.py, right? Like, the whole path is in the key. There's only one level, right? And then the values are the file contents. So
that makes sense too.
.py, and then here we would have string, and then, oh gosh, what did I do?
Do you forget what operating system you're in?
Possibly. Does this go to the end of the line? No. I guess I killed XKeySnail. All right, so I have no special key bindings. That's good to know. Yeah, and then this would be like whatever.
Yeah, right. Exactly that. Huh. That's a good point. So what we're actually writing here is a program that takes in a hash and outputs Python.
Yeah.
No, Gavin, nothing so generic. Well,
That's
maybe.
Basically what we're doing. I'm trying to think if there's like another more convenient intermediate step, but no, not really. I mean, probably we just wanted to output the Python.
Right. An intermediate step. Well, yeah, what do I mean? Should we look at the...
Like, is there a more convenient data structure that represents a boundary we could test at? And maybe, but we'll discover that later, and then we can refactor our tests or whatever.
Yeah, you mean more convenient than a string?
Yeah, a string containing a
Python
function call.
Yeah,
that's a little bit awkward. Because like the keyboard send keys thing, right? This is just going to be hard coded somewhere. So why repeat it in every single one of our tests?
Right. Right. Well, it won't be every single one of our tests. Yeah, so maybe we should write a narrower scope of test.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, or we could make this test pass by hard coding in something like, I mean,
well, is this test even right? We haven't defined what our input mapping looks like.
Right. The test is not right.
Okay.
It's definitely not right. So should we use the example from the README?
Yeah, why not?
Well, because I don't know how to
Show files.
open a file.
Control
README.
P.
Brilliant. So something like this.
Sure. Yeah, except you want the defaults there as well.
Okay, so what's a good example hash? I mean, I think a good example would just be nice. Or super W maps to control W. Something like that.
Yeah, so I realized that what we wrote in the README doesn't actually make sense. This defaults with inheritance thing. I think Autokey actually implements this itself.
Right.
I'm pretty sure. I should probably confirm this. But I think what will happen is if you have a directory of shortcuts that's configured to just be for a specific application, then that will also like key bindings that don't have an application filter on them will also take effect. Huh?
Right. We're not going to need to specify all the defaults for every specific application.
Right. Yeah. But so we will need a way to specify a set of key bindings to write into a directory that doesn't have an application filter associated with it. Yeah. Something like that.
Something like global and then...
And we can just remove those. And we can remove this sentence.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. So then this becomes our example. Right?
I guess so.
All right, well, is this valid YAML? Maybe our mapping becomes YAML parse, here doc. How does this work?
Double left arrow. You don't need the here doc. What is that?
I don't know. It was like Nostra. I don't remember. Okay. So it's because it's white space sensitive. Will we not need?
We will probably need to do something like that. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Uninitialized constant YAML. We have to require it. Requiring is required.
Right. So we expected our output hash and we got nil. So this is close, right? I mean, what is the output that we want? Send keys Alt F4 for Super W for like global. Is that how Autokey is? That's not how Autokey is set, but like, is that how it's structured?
Probably, yeah.
That's actually
probably right. Except for the fact that it's in the root directory. But yeah.
Are these send keys going to be more than one line? Maybe we can just make it.
No, I think it's just going to be one line. So yeah.
Okay. Well, that's easy. All right. Implicit return. Hash equality. Hash approximation. How do we compare hashes?
To equal EQ.
And we're green.
All right, sweet. So how realistic do you want this test to be? Because like the test still isn't correct. Like we're gonna need other files to be written, and the /global isn't right. But maybe that doesn't matter at this stage.
Whatever. Yeah. How realistic? So do we? Yeah. Is this the level at which we want to drive out the code? Sorry, can you repeat the question?
How realistic, like how correct do we want this test to be at the start?
100%.
100% correct. Well,
yeah,
I'm not confident in my ability to make this test 100% correct, to be honest. But I can try. I can fix the problems that I know about. So this is going to be... oh, this is interesting. So I guess we don't have shell expansion of like the user's home directory in Ruby, right? So when we're writing a file, it's probably going to be something like home, the user config Autokey global.
You know, I'm starting to feel like maybe the user should pass a destination directory.
No, the destination directory is always going to be config Autokey, right? Like we can get the user's name. That's not a big deal.
Interesting. Yeah.
But we will need to pass in.
If we can get the user's name, then we can get the user's home directory.
Yeah.
So this doesn't need to be... We don't need to do this stuff. We don't need to do the file system. No, we don't need to do the user space work at the level of this function, right? So we don't need to pass in the user if we generate something that if the CLI tool is going to do that work. Does that make sense? Like we could rather than templatizing this and having it, I'm saying the responsibility of finding that could happen at a higher level.
It could. Well, so here's the thing. If we are just going to pass this directly to the part of the program that writes files to disk, how smart do we want that part of the program to be? I think it's going to be hard to test, so I would like it to be pretty dumb.
I see.
So my inclination is to make this data format as simple as possible. So, you know, passing in the username seems like a small price to pay for not having to test things that touch the file system as much.
Okay, but the I see. So you want to remove the knowledge of the template from the command line.
I want the file writer to be application agnostic. It has no idea that it's being used for AutoKeyConf. The
file writer, well, it's going to be calling generate. If it's going to be calling generate,
the file writer doesn't have to call generate. It just has to receive data in this format.
When you say the file writer, you don't mean the script AutoKeyConf.
Right.
What do you to what? How would you refer to this script AutoKeyConf?
AutoKeyConf.
That's sort of our like global namespace.
Okay.
But right, so like if that's what AutoKey, if that's what the script does, right? If it calls generate and it calls and it calls YAML.parse argv0 and then username, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then the responsibility of username is going to be, whatever, some name getter module, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just saying, why? Right, so now we get to divvy up the responsibilities, right, of generate. So generate could get the name. It could get the path. I mean,
Like the home directory?
yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, home dir, right?
Or it could get the AutoKeyConf path, right?
It could
not
get
AutoKeyConf.
the
That's the thing already.
AutoKeyConf.
It could get the directory to write the configuration into.
Right.
Right. Like maybe it doesn't have to know that the configuration lives in whatever home user AutoKey.
So I guess the question is,
AutoKey.
no, the difference is, I guess the thing is, because we're not going to be testing this script, we don't want to do any work in this script.
Right.
Okay, so then generate takes no arguments, one argument.
Well, it needs to know at least the user's name, because that is variable and irreducible.
Right.
And I guess we could mock out the Ruby interface to we could mock out env, but
sure,
that is more difficult and conveys the same information as just passing in the value of end user here. So let's just pass in the value of end user.
Okay. So, right. So then we'll just leave that as an exercise for later. And then here, generate mapping. In fact, it's not just generate at this point, right? It's write.
Is it?
Well, it is if we don't write, it is if we don't put it in the script.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Maybe I'm misunderstanding.
Well, so does this function generate? Is it just sort of the kernel of the does it generate an approximation, or does it write? It doesn't write to the file system.
It does not.
Okay, so then there's some other module that actually, places the generated
stuff.
Yep. Okay. Right. So then this is just generating from the mapping and the username. Well, if we're going to be writing the file elsewhere, then we don't necessarily need to know the username until we write the mapping, right? The output, right?
Huh. Sure. So
Because if this is going to be placed in Autokey, directory,
we could have another part of the program that knows the Autokey directory. But no, I want the thing that actually writes files, which in this case is placed in Autokey directory, to not know about Autokey.
I see. So
because
this is...
I want to test it in a way that is completely independent of Autokey, right? When I test it, I don't want it to actually write Autokey configuration. I want to be able to tell it to write into /temp.
Right. So it's going to be a generic function that takes these mappings of paths to file contents. And
yes. And so the question is, how do we generate the right mapping? Should we generate some intermediate mapping that doesn't know about where Autokey stores its configuration? Or should we just generate the mapping initially with code that knows where Autokey puts its configuration and knows the user's name?
Yeah, so we would be generating an Autokey directory. But we wouldn't necessarily be assigning it. I'm trying to limit the... Why am I doing this? Why am I trying to limit the responsibility of this function?
Yeah, we just sort of said it was we're writing essentially an integration test. Integration test is the wrong word. We are writing an integrated test. That's also the wrong word. I don't actually like the integrated versus unit test distinction. We are writing a...
I know, it's just a top-level test.
Yeah, we're writing a test for all of the logic together. all of the logic of the whole application.
Right. So, which is I don't know that, it's like, I guess in that case, then it's an Autokey conf that can be written. So it's the yeah. Great, good job, Gavin. Autokey conf, the method. What does it mean to have have the path assigned to the user and everything like that?
What is it?
I mean, what is the name for that? I don't know. Well, I want to use the word assign to say. I'm probably making this too complicated. Let's just call it generate.
Yes.
Bit of mapping, give it a username, or right, and have it output home / the user.
Yeah.
Is that the idea?
That seems okay.
Right, where we have username.
All right.
Home
Expected
the user.
home the user got global super W.
How does Ruby work? Username.
Seems right.
So close.
.config / Autokey.
Oh, I see. Home user config Autokey global.
Nice.
Pretty realistic.
All right, but it is not yet complete. We have written the Python file.
Right.
We have not yet written. Well, actually, so that other script we looked at named the Python files after the key that is output. So
Yeah.
this script is going to send Control W. Oh, it actually sends Alt F4. All right. Well, let's call it Alt F4.py.
I see. Right. And the mapping to the Alt F4 script exists in the JSON, which we haven't. Right. It's named after what it does. That makes sense.
Okay. And then the other thing is we need the JSON. So I have another file. This is going off the right edge of the screen, so I guess let's wrap it. I don't have any of my keyboard shortcuts. This is even worse because I'm not even on the laptop keyboard where I can actually type these things conveniently. So in here, there's going to be a superw.json. It's actually .superw.json for some reason. Actually, wait, is that right? We can't just determine these file names, right? Like Autokey knows these. These are magic Autokey names.
Sure.
So let's look at what the truth is in config Autokey. Data. Oh, gosh. I forgot about the data directory. So,
okay.
Data.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
What?
This is an annoying test.
Because
it has
it's
a lot of
repeating
different...
the same thing over and over again?
Yeah, I mean... Yeah, I guess it's important that at some point in the program we specify this directory.
Okay,
but
you know what? There's a better solution. I'm sorry I didn't think of this before, but we can use like partially applied functions, aka objects, to do this more conveniently. So it would be really cool if we could say write files relative to a path, right? And then we give this home username config Autokey data.
Okay. That's certainly one way to get the... Although, we have partially applied functions, or we just pass arguments?
Well, we have objects. So what this will be is it will be like relative or like directory. This feels a little bit silly because we're creating our own directory class, but directory.new.
Well,
right.
Yeah.
Generate.
I mean,
this is horrible. This is a really long line. Why did we do this to ourselves? Okay, but this is fine, right?
it makes me wonder if maybe we're neglecting Ruby file system primitives.
Oh yeah, I'm sure we are.
Well, should we take a look at that? I mean,
yeah, but like, why learn the standard library when we could write our own? No, you're right. Ruby, there's like a dir class, right?
Yeah. Yes. Right. And if we, create a dir at base path at path
But then the problem is we can't just write a map of files into it, right? That's not how Ruby works.
Why not?
I guess we could extend it with additional methods. But then those methods would have to access its internal state.
There's definitely already a way of declaring a directory and all of its contents, entries.
Well, I mean, there is, but that's not actually what we want to do. What we actually want is a partially applied function, but since Ruby is an object-oriented language, we can't have nice things. So we do this instead.
I mean, I guess that's fine. I was just hoping that there would be a way that we could take this out of the test. But
yes, we can. Now we can take it out. We have this directory class, this imaginary directory class. We can delete everything up to Autokey data.
Everything up
we can't
to
delete global.
Autokey
We can't delete what you've highlighted there.
Data.
But we can delete everything up to data.
Global. And we no longer pass in a username.
Right. That goes away. Our code
Just
doesn't parse, by the way.
What code? Oh, yeah.
Texts.
Fine. It's this. There was just a broken hash, but wrong number of arguments given. That's fine. We can stop passing in the user now. Right. Oh, right. Of course our code... Well, okay, so generate now is a method on nothing. Generate, right. Brilliant. Yes, good. Great. I prefer this. So what is the issue here now is that we've added a field. Voila.
Yes.
How do you feel about that?
How do I feel about commenting things out in our test assertions to make the tests fast?
No, about the method signature that we've returned to.
Yes, I like it.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, basically what we've done is we've deferred the effort of specifying the directory.
Indeed.
Which is to say that we're, later we're going to have to implement directory, right?
Sure. Yes.
Right. Okay. But before that, we're going to implement generate, right? Which converts this mapping to our like special directory object.
Yeah.
Whatever. Something like that. Okay. Cool. So does generate so how do you want to move forward from here? I have an idea.
Do we want to uncomment this line?
We could do that, or we could add a second test. Right? I mean, is this simple? Is this example simple enough? I mean, technically, this is a fully formed
Don't you mean
key mapping,
is
right?
it complicated enough?
Is it complicated enough?
Like,
Yeah.
I thought the point of this was to give us like a high level signal of when we are done programming this project. Right? Isn't this like an acceptance test?
it is an acceptance test. So if this were an acceptance test, then I would think that we would need to add a JSON file.
We definitely need the JSON file, and we also need files for Firefox and GNOME Terminal.
I don't know that we actually need all of these.
No, we probably don't.
In our first test, now that I'm staring down the barrel of the first test.
Okay, well, I would write an even simpler first test, but since this is the first test, we can write a very simple second test, such as, what do we do with an empty config file?
Oh, that's a great idea. Sure, let's do that.
Okay, but what should we do with this test?
Well, I guess make it as simple as possible. So right now there's a disagreement between the simplicity of the output and the complexity of the input.
Mm-hmm.
So let's simplify it. Let's simplify our input.
Okay.
And then we won't have to
global super W is Alt F4. Get rid of that. Okay. And we need a JSON file.
What is that going to look like?
There's an example in the gist that we were looking at, so we can probably just copy paste from there. Or we can copy paste from any of the files that AutoKeyConf generates for itself.
How do I duplicate a line? Give up. Just write it. I just have to type the keys, strike the keys that I want to see on the screen.
I find that to be the most reliable strategy, unfortunately. Right. Okay. So wait, I had a question, which was, what format does Autokey actually use for the names of these files? So we look at key map.
Yeah.
It's got dot home plus control.json, for example. And if that file, oh gosh. Okay, so this is interesting. So it names the JSON file after the output. Names the JSON file after the output.
And puts the hotkey in it. Yeah.
And puts the hotkey in it. That's awkward. Why does it do that?
Well, it has to name the Python file and the JSON file the same, right? Because it's implied. That's how it references. That's how they reference one another, is by name.
Yeah, I guess so. Because there's no
so if we're going
to name the Python file in here.
So if we're going to name the Python file after the send keys argument, then we have to name the JSON file after the send keys argument.
I guess so.
And that's where the mapping is codified.
All right.
In a JSON file of a different name.
Yeah. I guess that... Ugh. All right. I don't like that, but I don't see a way around it, so let's just deal with it.
All right. Boy, I really don't want to specify an entire JSON object here.
Okay. Well, then let's... Wait, it's file content, so it's just going to be a string. Does that help? No.
You're right. Sense. It is just going to be a string. So we can write a hash and call to string. I guess it's just going to be a string. I'm trying to think how to make this a useful test.
How do we make it a useful test where we can see the information in it? Right. Okay. So maybe the first thing we output, maybe the thing that this generate function outputs is not a mapping of file paths to file contents, but a mapping of file paths to objects that will generate file contents. So here we could have an object that's like Autokey JSON file, right? And I'm assuming these things are comparable by value. But if we say
I see,
the
and it's
things
just
that we're going to
something that has
parameterize, sorry?
Name and the things that we're going to parameterize are modifiers.
Modifiers and apparently
And
hotkey,
filter,
so
maybe.
control super U. So the hotkey is, might as well follow the convention here. No, I don't want to follow conventions. I want to use Ruby conventions. A hotkey is U, and the modifiers are control and super.
Yeah, but that's just the example that we're looking at, right? I mean, really what we want are...
Oh, yeah, of course. I'm just...
Alt?
Yeah.
This is the output, so
this
alt?
Is... No, the output is in the Python file. This is the input, so we want super and W.
Oh, so the hotkey is
super.
W.
Yeah, hotkey is W.
And the modifier is an
super.
array containing only super.
Mm-hmm. Right, but okay. So then this test depends on Autokey JSON file somehow being comparable by value to other objects of its type, right? Which we can actually get for free, sort of, with struct. But if we use struct, then we can't have this hash param syntax. So we would have to do something like W.
We could do a merge. You know, we could write in the test. We could define our expectations. Super W.
Right. This is pretty readable, right?
Yeah. An Autokey JSON file that maps super to W.
The question is there anything else you would have to put in here?
W.
The regex is going to be inherited from the directory.
That's so funny. There's no...
So we won't ever need to specify that. And is there anything else in here that we would need to configure? I mean, there's nothing else that other script configures, right? Let's look at it. Where is JSON? Generate config object. The raw version. Okay, here it is. Everything's hard coded. So hotkey is empty. All right. So what did they do? Oh my gosh, they're like copying this and then mutating it or something. Config. Where's config used? Config.do.tap do. Okay, so we set the description. Okay, so we might want to parameterize that. The hotkey is set, and then the modifiers are set. And that's it. All right, so where does description show up? Config description should be at the top level. Oh, there it is. Okay.
Is that the input or the output? That's the output. Right.
Oh, that is the output, which is the same as the file name.
Right.
So maybe we don't care about specifying that. No, we do.
Does Autokey read that? Where does Autokey read that? I guess is my question. Where does the description show up?
I think it shows up in the UI.
Yeah.
Probably. We can test that.
Yeah, we could just look at the Autokey UI.
Well, there are other things with home control.
There are other
the
things
file
that
name,
specify.
right? So,
it's redundant.
oops.
Yeah. It's already running.
Is it? Oh.
Yeah.
So it is remapping all of our keys.
Oh, configuration has been changed on disk. Well, that's very impressive.
Huh.
Changes made in other programs.
All right, I guess we got to quit.
Wait, didn't it just specify that it had recognized? Hey, window filter, find me. That's amusing.
Yeah, apparently Autokey
home
doesn't
control.
like to change things. It makes you like save.
Right.
It. All right. So home. What is it?
There's home control.
Home control. It now doesn't show up.
Oh, wait, home control, find me.
There we go. All right. So it's in the menu name, and it is. That's it. It just.
Interesting. And yet, home control pi. Oh, I see. So the description is the menu name, and the file names agree. So if you want, then we could set the description to be the input rather than the output, and then it would show up in the menu as the input, even though the file names would agree on the output.
Okay. Yeah, I like that a lot better, actually.
Then we don't need to parameterize it
Great.
because
Love
we
it.
already have the input.
Love it. Okay.
Then you'll, so then in Autokey you'll look and you'll see what does Autokey even call these pairs of inputs and outputs?
Hotkeys.
Right. So you'll have a hotkey that's labeled by the input, and when you read it, it'll say send keys output.
All right. And so if we're going to follow this pattern of deduplicating with objects that render file contents, then we would say this is an Autokey script.
Yes.
Or like send key script.
Is there another kind of script we're trying to differentiate from?
Well, specifically, this is going to be this script template, right? It is going to be keyboard.sendKeys. So I just want to be super specific about what it is, but it's going to send Alt F4.
Yeah.
What do you think about this?
Okay. So, interesting. So this test is asserting that a global, super W to Alt F4 produces an Autokey JSON file of super W.
Mm-hmm.
And a send key script of Alt F4 named Alt F4.
And while we're looking at this, I don't like this name JSON file because first of all, this thing has no idea about files. It's not a file. And the fact that it's JSON is an implementation detail. This is an Autokey binding.
Yeah. Okay. Right. With a description of X and what are these parameters called again? I can't remember. They're called like a hotkey and a modifier. Well, whatever. Okay, great. Okay, yeah, I like this. Where a Autokey binding is we
want to inherit from struct, I believe, or a new.
You want to inherit from struct.
I want to inherit from struct because I want value comparison, because otherwise this test isn't going to pass.
Right.
So we want modifiers hotkey.
Cool. Uninitialized constant Autokey send key script. Although I don't wonder, I wonder if maybe binding. Yeah. Okay. Great. Seems great.
Then we have an output. What is this? A chord? Chord is just when you press multiple keys at a time, right?
Yeah, that's great. Love it.
This is inheritance from struct. Okay, good. Expected blah, blah, blah. I got blah, blah, blah. All right, so the thing we actually want to output here is what's in the test. So let's just copy that and paste it in. That's it.
What? Yeah, right. That's right. Yes, good job.
And if we change this, it should fail. Uh-oh. Okay, good.
Hey.
Why did our test take so long to run? Oh, it's running every 2 seconds. No. Watch. I want feedback in 400 milliseconds tops.
Great. Brilliant. Marvelous. Wonderful. So, should we commit?
Yeah. 400 milliseconds, for the benefit of the people on the stream, is called the Doherty threshold. There was some UI research done in the 80s on, I think it was the 80s, on basically like, all right, it probably wasn't the 80s, but there was some UI research that was done on like how computer response times related to productivity in like an interactive terminal environment. What they discovered was that if your response time gets longer than about 400 milliseconds, there are like super linear slowdowns. Like if the computer takes a second longer to respond, then the user takes like 5 seconds longer to react to what the computer did, because now their like thought has been interrupted. I can tell Gavin's very bored. So.
No, I'm writing this all down. I'm writing this down because there's actually a thread in the XPivot Slack about how long is too long for tests to run.
Oh,
and
just Google the Doherty threshold and like send them the link.
Link them to the Doherty threshold. Oh, I can do that right now. Well, you're committing.
Yeah, so we can't use YAML anchors and merges. So let's just do this. Let's commit the README separately. Update README with better design. I don't know. Oh gosh, we didn't even add our gem file. Should we just add everything? I mean, AutoKeyConf doesn't even work, so I almost don't want to add it. We definitely need the gem file, and we want our spec directory. So, all right, so we can commit this, sketch out, generate interface, and a test. Does that seem like a good commit message?
Yes.
Okay.
It does.
Okay. I'm wondering if for the benefit of the stream, we should just go ahead and implement Autokey binding and auto send keys script first. Even though we could defer these, I wonder if it makes sense to test drive them now just to sort of demonstrate the pattern that we're using here.
Come again?
Like, these classes are going to need to do something, right? They're going to need to render our output.
Yeah, should we write those out?
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Describe Autokey binding. I guess we should probably also clarify that like we're writing our test code and production code in the same file just because it's convenient. And
should we split it out? Are we embarrassing ourselves?
No, I mean, this is how we work.
That's true.
It's a legit way to work. But, you know, later we're going to split out our production code into a separate file so we can actually call it without invoking the tests.
Oh, they know.
I'm sure they'll figure it out.
Okay. Why is Ruby so badly supported by this editor?
People at Microsoft don't write Ruby. I don't know. They probably did.
Does test fail? Great. Brilliant. So in this case, we...
So Autokey binding just renders JSON, right?
Renders JSON.
And
so in truth, we are... Come to the end of the line. There's a specific method on that we're going to be testing, right? I mean, is it like toString or toS or something like that?
2S is great. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Ruby has standard interfaces for this. I love 2S.
Okay.
Although, why indent our code another level just because we have a method?
Because it's nice.
What's nice about it?
I don't remember. So it's going to be... shoot. Do we really want to assert 2S against a block of text?
Yes.
At some point we have to.
Isn't that the behavior of our code, right? I mean, there's only going to be one test. I think we can get away with just writing one test. Maybe two if we want to be really pedantic.
Okay. So 2S.
Okay, but we got to give new some arguments.
Do we?
Well,
that's not what the tests.
Expected empty string. Got struct
Autokey default.
Binding.
Probably should raise an error if you don't give it anything.
Right. Yeah.
They're like a strict struct.
I feel like there is. I don't know. I haven't written Ruby in too long. I vaguely remember something like that. Yes, it is sort of awkward that it does not require arguments.
I'll look it up.
But you know,
I guess we could just write.
It.
What?
Like,
I don't know. I mean,
okay, here's a question.
No, to be honest,
do we want the wrapping of the modifiers in angle brackets to be part of the responsibility of Autokey binding?
Huh.
I feel like we probably do.
Sure.
Because it's the kind of thing that's easy to forget. And why complicate our interfaces with extraneous characters just because Autokey wants them? Right. All right, cool. So our modifier is foo. We can invent our own modifiers. That's very nice. And therefore, we will output in config where the hotkey has as modifiers of. So we can actually. Okay, I don't actually want to convert this to JSON myself. So let's just do it in IRB. JSON dot. Oh wait, how do we convert to JSON in Ruby? There's like a toJSON method, isn't there?
Of hash? Of a hash? Yeah.
Oh gosh.
Whoa.
Pasting with color. Negative
Was that
argument.
actual
Argument
JSON?
error.
That was. Did you just paste JSON in as a hash?
JSON. Well, no, I pasted a hash into IRB.
Where'd you get that hash?
I copied it from this gist.
Oh, I see. Right, brilliant. Yeah. I don't know. It's a lot of...
But this is okay. This is silly. I don't actually want to do this. What I want to do is copy the JSON from AutokeyConf, which I just had open. Yeah. Xscripts. Let's see. It's not in there. All right. So then this will have a description of what was it? Foo bar. Foo plus bar.
Yeah.
And then the hotkey is going to be bar, and the modifiers are foo.
Yeah.
All right.
Expect Autokey binding of foo and bar to equal a big pile of JSON.
How come it's truncating our failure message here? Is it just because the terminal is too small?
The terminal is too small.
Yeah, the terminal is too small, and it doesn't watch.
Well, watch isn't.
Watch
let us
doesn't
scroll,
print
though.
the whole thing. Watch is too smart. Okay, well, we know what the problem is. We don't need the test failure to tell us what to do. Whoa. Okay, I can't press.
Yeah, you try to jump to the end of the line.
Yeah, I can't go to the end of the line like that. What I need is the end key.
I love that we're writing this script to like make it easier to specify hotkey binding
because I can't use my computer to write the script. Like, okay,
right.
Yes, everyone can now see why this is necessary. So silly. Okay, good. So now we want the hash. So I'm gonna just copy this out of here and hope that it serializes in the same order. I think it should because this JSON was generated by this script. So let's copy that and paste that. Call to JSON on it. And in the hotkey, we need our hotkey to be hotkey. And I believe that should work with a struct. It defines methods for the properties that you pass in, I think. The modifiers are just the modifiers. All right, let's see if that passes the test.
Undefined method to JSON. Do we need to import
probably
JSON?
Because we need to require JSON. Expected blah, 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 blah to equal. Okay, now we have a problem. Now we have a legit problem.
Now we have a big pile.
Expected. Oh, we got, we're missing new lines. Oh, the output doesn't have any white space in it.
Oh, the output that they use is JSON pretty generate or something like that.
Okay, good. How come I can't switch windows? Can you switch windows?
I couldn't switch windows either.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Right, because we made it always on top.
Someone checked always on top.
I did that because I want it there. Why shouldn't it be always on top?
Okay.
That's the job of the test. And it should
Now this is always
stay on
what
top.
the heck? Autokey. Oh, Autokey just pops up behind Firefox for some reason. Okay.
JSON.prettyGenerate is how they.
Great. Love it. And that means we don't need that. Syntax error, unexpected, blah, 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 blah. Okay, I guess we need that.
Among other blobs. Here,
all right. Word chars. So
we're okay,
what do we actually want here?
Too many escaped W's. Too many
escaped. Okay, no, maybe not enough because
not enough.
This escape is applying
W's.
in Ruby. I can see because it's highlighted that way.
Yeah.
And what we actually want is in the JSON output 2 literal slashes. So we got to do that.
We want those. Okay.
Right.
And then
we didn't tell our modifiers to have angle brackets.
Oh, we need to templatize that. Okay. Okay, we're going to map over our modifiers and stringify them.
It's not JavaScript. This is all right. And
awesome.
We are missing our description. Right. Our description is just the modifiers.
Ooh.
And you know what? I'm gonna duplicate some code. It's fine. We can refactor this later.
Yeah.
Now is not the time to write clean code. Now is the time to get the test screen.
Right.
And then we are going to join them. And then, okay, what happened? Comma. Right, the description doesn't have these.
We need to union.
So we don't need map. We just need join.
And we need to join. We need the union of modifiers and hotkey. Oh, splat join. Great. The diff is empty. What did we do? How did we completely
The diff
lose?
is empty. Oh, there's a new line on the end of one and not on the other. I don't know what we can do about that because this JSON has to be on its own line.
Oh, get rid of the white space at least.
I guess we could. No, but these spaces aren't real spaces. I guess we could say we're gonna.
Wait, that's the problem is that there's a new line at the end of the. There you go. You know how to Ruby.
All right, cool. Well, that's it. I think that's all the tests we need. I mean, we could write another test to verify that we really are mapping over the modifiers and not just taking the first one, and we really are splatting them all into this array and whatever, but
Okay, let's commit this.
Oh, our white space here is off. What is this? This needs to be.
Oh yeah, it's not all formatted. Can we not just auto format this document?
I guess we could try. Format.
I did. Now you can try. Yep.
There is no formatter for Ruby files installed. I wonder what happens when I click this button.
I already did. It just pops open the tray with showing plugins, and I installed Ruby language support, and it didn't do anything.
Formatters language Ruby.
Do we need prettier?
There is no default formatter for Ruby.
How about prettier?
Pretty
Doesn't-
on Ruby?
I don't know.
It's not listed
Prettier
here.
is the new way to do things, and it's not. Okay, that's embarrassing. How about Rufo?
Your favorite language? Question mark. Plugins. Maybe there's a prettier Ruby plugin. Using plugins.
Wow. I guess we should have written this in
Plugins.
JavaScript.
ERB.
Oh.
Oh, there is Ruby.
Oh.
Official. It's an official plugin.
It's not in the README. Okay.
All right. Well, we could shave this yak, or we could.
It's 2 clicks, right? We just install prettier, and then we move on with our lives.
Yeah, I guess so.
I don't want to shave any yaks about it. If it turns out to be a yak, we're over it. I'm over it. So is that it, or do we need to like install prettier Ruby plugin, or does it just come with prettier?
I don't know what it comes with.
Okay, well,
How do we close this extensions pane? How do we close this?
I don't know.
sidebar?
I've just been
Maybe-
I've just been running the command hide,
Right.
maximize editor group, and hide sidebar.
Right. Okay.
And then format. All right. Well, too bad.
Ah, well.
There's no
it was
formatter
worth a try.
installed, apparently.
Okay. What else? What else? No new line to end a file. Describe Autokey binding. Right. Okay. One line adds whitespace errors. Huh. Really? Where? Is it inside this string?
What? Sorry, what is the
The
problem?
error is one line adds whitespace errors.
Warning. One line adds.
Git usually is good about highlighting these things. Oh, I must have
False.
missed this. So I'll do it in the
There you
first
go.
place. Okay.
Is that an error?
Cool. Implement
Autokey binding.
key binding. Okay, so to reiterate, to recap, the benefit of doing things this way, where we have this object that renders the JSON, instead of asserting the JSON up here in this test, is that now we
Yeah.
don't have to duplicate the JSON in every test. We can
Right.
just say, we expect an object that is of this type and has these arguments,
Yeah.
and then we just trust that it's going to do the right thing because that's tested elsewhere.
Right.
And then this test doesn't have to duplicate the JSON in every test case.
Mm-hmm. Currently, we have a naive implementation because we only have the one test. But once we add more examples, then we will be able to triangulate a real program.
Yes.
Just to reiterate. Cool.
All right. Should we do one more? Should we take a break?
Let's take a break.
All right. All right. Stop on the stream.